Events, wrote Michael Dobbs in his political science fiction novels of a modern-day Macbeth of a British Prime Minister named Francis Urquhart. Events, he mutters, on the way to a gas leak that makes his authoritarian government look inhuman and a liberal king humane. Events, he concludes, the politician's enemy. Or, in our number one story on the countdown, his best friend. If the politician is a Rudy Giuliani or Willard Mitt Romney, whose worldview divides all events from baseball games to political assassinations into events caused by violent radical jihadists, as Romney put it today, and non-events. It is a black and white simplicity that grows more stark still, what with the Iowa caucuses precisely a week away. Dana Milbank in a moment. First, the noise from the campaign trail.
Right now, there is significant unrest in Pakistan as we speak, and there are people that are blaming Musharraf for it. That's why I say who are the winners and losers. It seems to me that the winners are the radical Islamic extremists.
This reminds us of how we have to redouble our efforts in that area of the world, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and make sure that the successes that they brought about, our military brought about.
We have to make sure that we are clear as Americans that we stand for democracy and that we will be steadfast in our desire to end the kinds of terrorist acts that have blighted not just Pakistan but other parts of the world.
The world is very much at risk by virtue of these radical, violent extremists, and we must come together in an effort in great haste and with great earnestness to help overcome the threat of the spread of radical, violent jihad.
And a statement from Senator Clinton underlying a reminder of her own particular brand of experience, reading in part, "I am profoundly saddened and outraged by the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, a leader of tremendous political and personal courage. I came to know Mrs. Bhutto over many years during her tenures as Prime Minister and during her years in exile." To Dana Milbank now, national political correspondent of the Washington Post and MSNBC analyst. Dana, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Acknowledging that we necessarily join the candidates somewhat in the mud here. They're talking about this nightmare in their own political context, and at least we're at the edge of the quagmire with them. But dividing this into parties, the Republicans first, the conventional wisdom, this could revivify Giuliani. Is that right, or will it not come with a little sting, emphasizing that he doesn't have any relevant international experience?
Well, I think first we have to say it's probably a marginal impact overall. While it's an international tragedy, I was with Hillary Clinton when she spoke about it this morning, and the general reaction was just puzzlement in the crowd. And after all, they're not Americans being killed here. However, it is a marginal benefit for Rudy Giuliani, particularly because he had really not been part of the debate. He's been sunning himself in Florida while everybody's slogging it out here in Iowa and New Hampshire. Gets it back on his terms to national security issues. He doesn't really campaign on it, but it helps him.
The Democrats, it would seem, is this an assumption that's correct, that would have less impact in Iowa and New Hampshire for them than it does for the Republicans, or is there some sort of lesser Pavlovian response in the Democratic voter that benefits Hillary Clinton and hurts Barack Obama?
I think it's similar in both cases. It would benefit McCain because of his experience. It would benefit Giuliani because of his 9/11 experience. Similarly, it helps Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama. Obama was supposed to deliver a new closing argument to his campaign here, saying why his relative inexperience didn't matter. This stepped all over that message today, really muddied it up for him. Clinton was very discreet in the way she brought it up, but again, a marginal benefit, but it certainly helps the debate more on Clinton's terms.
And I don't know if you heard Chris Dodd earlier in the show, but he said something that really that came as something of a surprise, and he said he was saying it with great regret, but that he suggested that our policy should be to delay those parliamentary elections, which are just 12 days off, to give the party of Benazir Bhutto time to regroup. Does something like that, even from one of the second-tier candidates, have a chance of resonating in this, or is your earlier point about it not being a mainstream issue for most of these caucus goers prevail in the analysis?
Yes, I think so. I mean, you have Biden out there saying thoughtful things, Dodd, Richardson making quite an elaborate proposal today about the sort of new coalition government that should govern Pakistan. None of this is going to be, in the bumper sticker slogans that are going to decide the caucuses here in Iowa a week from now. So again, this is really it's a huge national security issue, but relatively marginal in the political world, I'm predicting.
And as a last note, Republican voters, any nuance is bad nuance? Assassination equals terrorism equals 9/11, that's all you need to know?
Well, it does help a little bit, but I think larger than the 9/11 Terrorism Association is experience. Well, they want to be embraced by the leader with a great deal of experience.
Dana Milbank, national political correspondent of the Washington Post, doing a great job giving us the headlines of the reaction politically to this. Great thanks, Dana.
Thanks, Keith.
Let's recap. It is morning in Pakistan with both spellings of the word applicable. The government of that nation announcing 3 days of grieving for former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, who was assassinated Thursday afternoon in the city of Rawalpindi, less than 3 weeks before parliamentary elections in that country are scheduled. The mourning period announced by President Musharraf, who blamed Islamic extremists for Ms. Bhutto's death and mentioned al-Qaeda. Mrs. Bhutto, it seemed, blaming General Musharraf, having sent an email that was to be read only in the event of her death. At least 9 people killed in violence that broke out in the aftermath of the news of the assassination. Opposition leaders, both in Pakistan and here in the U.S., calling for General Musharraf's resignation. And earlier in this news hour, as I just mentioned, Connecticut Senator and Democratic presidential candidate Chris Dodd suggesting, with great regret, that the U.S. should push Musharraf to postpone those January 8th parliamentary elections to give Mrs. Bhutto's opposition party some time to regroup. Mrs. Bhutto's body was flown from an airbase in Islamabad to her hometown of Larkana, where she will be buried with great ceremony and no doubt great grief at sundown tomorrow, roughly 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. She is the 4th member of her family, her 2 brothers and her father, Pakistan's first truly elected leader, to die violently as a result of their involvement in the politics of their homeland. That is Countdown for this, the 1,702nd day since the declaration of mission accomplished in Iraq.